What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the content that we have coming out. Now, for this video, we're going to be diving into Infinite Frontier, continuing on Superman Action Comics, issue number 1029. Now, this issue will be picking up directly where Superman issue number 29 left off. If you didn't catch that issue, go ahead and check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It'll get you completely caught up on everything that's been going on. But this issue, we're reaching the conclusion of the Golden Age. The Golden Age story arc, that is. Now, this is written by Becky Cloonan, pencils are by Phil Hester, and inks are by Eric Gapster. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so this issue picks us up pretty much where we left off, and they're fighting these kind of like kaijus that are coming through this breach right outside of Earth's atmosphere, if you will. And Jonathan Kent has been worried because he's been to the 31st century. He knows when his dad dies, and according to all of the history books, this is that day, the day that he has been dreading, the day they see their heroes fall. Today, that bubble that they put around themselves, that shield that they've had, is suddenly knocked aside, leaving them afraid and vulnerable. And for the first time in their lives, they know that anything can happen. And we see Superman in a weakened state. Whatever these creatures are, they can hurt Superman. But for some reason, Jonathan's not hurt by them the same way Superman is. Now, it doesn't give us much explanation as to why, not yet at least. But as they're fighting these giant creatures, they hit the Star Lab station, and both Jonathan and Clark head over to try to help any individuals inside. And so they're sealing up breaches, they're making sure everybody has proper oxygen, and in all the panic, the scientists are letting him know that the only way to close this is from the other side. And they let it slip that the breach really originated from this side, and so it has to be closed from the other side. And Superman stops, dead in his tracks, and tells them that they need to explain, and they need to explain fast. And they spill it. They spill everything, letting them know that Amanda Waller found out about the project and told them that they needed to keep the breach open because they needed to study the effects of it due to the effects that it has on Superman. And the only thing that can seal this up is the Singularity Cannon, because it has an independent energy source. And so what they need to do is take that cannon through the breach, seal it up, and hopefully somebody can make it through before it ends. And so Superman goes to fly off and take care of this, but Jonathan stops him, letting him know that he's hurt and that John can do it. He wants to do it. And he's begging him to stay here in a panic, frantically. But Superman is also in a weakened state. He's coughing. He's bleeding internally. He's hunched over. So Jonathan does have some room for concern here. And this is where we see Jonathan put his foot down and he says, listen to me. Don't do this because you won't make it back. I've seen the future. I've read all of the books about you. That breach that opens up, this fight, the fight that we're fighting right now in the future, this is the one that's one of the last documented incidences where we heard of Superman. Possibly even the last. These things come through, and by the third wave, Superman falls. Now, a lot of the details were lost, and they don't know exactly what happens at the end, but they know that there's no more accounts of Superman after going through that breach. And Clark tells him, you know, I can see that you're scared, and I may have taken some hits, but it's not as bad as you think it is. And more or less, I need you to trust me. Trust that I can do this. Trust that we can do this together. And John reluctantly agrees to this, and they head out. And they go fight all of these things, Superman grabbing the cannon, making his way to this breach, only to be cut off by some kaiju, and we see Superman weakened, Jonathan running in to take a blast for his father, and this is when Superman gets the opportunity to grab the cannon again, only for Jonathan to swoop in, going as fast as possible, Superman not able to keep up due to his weakened state. And Jonathan goes through the portal and seals up the breach. And before it closes, he goes as fast as he can, darting his way through this breach back into his dimension. And with that, this attack has come to a close. And we see John and Clark flying back, and Superman really feeling like he let he let Jonathan down today. You know, Jonathan was so sure that Clark was going to die out there that Clark didn't even consider that he might actually be true. And if it had been his father, he may have done exactly what Jonathan did, and he understands exactly where he's coming from. But he lets him know that he couldn't have been prouder of how he handled himself. But there's still something that Jonathan doesn't understand. In the 31st century, the history books say today was the beginning of the end. And Jonathan doesn't understand how he's still alive. And if the history books were right, what if his time is almost near? How is Jonathan supposed to be ready for something like that? And this is where Clark tells him a story. Tells him a story that Jonathan's grandfather told Clark. One day, he had fallen from a ladder, and Clark was scared. Mostly, he was embarrassed that he had seen him fall like that. And so he made an excuse so he didn't feel as bad. And his dad tells him, you know, it was my own fault. And that there's a lesson here. You know, there's a golden age when every kid knows their parents are indestructible, that they never fall and will always know what the right thing to do is. Parents create this persona so that their kids can feel safe, so they'll be able to take risks and really figure out what their limits are. But everybody falls. And he continues on to tell him, when you see your kids step out of your golden age and start to test themselves, you'll understand exactly what it was all for. And this is when we see an image from Warworld, and them observing, seeing that the sun is powerful and his power is growing. But Mongol isn't worried about the sun, but he's more focused on the fact that Superman may actually be dying. Now, they're not even 100% sure if he's actually dying, but Mongol assumes that if he is alive, if he lives, then he must also die. And so whatever's going on, we can only assume that it has something to do with Mongol and Warworld. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. So, you know, again, we're seeing the beginning phases of Future State. We know that Clark ends up on Warworld. We know that he ends up prisoner there. And we know that all of this has something to do with Mongol. And so we can only assume that Jonathan, talking about the disappearance of his father, is talking about how Clark ends up on Warworld. Not really understanding how yet. We haven't really got all that information, but we will here soon. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and until the next breakdown.